Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to LSR for their Le Mans special, the 2 hours of Le Mans here in the northern part of France. And I'm sorry, the visuals are getting a bit of a delay. Hopefully they'll sort themselves out in a second. So this is the second event we've done here at Le Mans on GT7 in LSR. It is the commentating team of me, Brennazon Combs, and Speedy Gunner, who should be here a little later on, but he is running a little bit late. So, to the circuit, the mighty Le Mans street and road course circuit here, as I said, in the northern part of France. So there's 38 corners around this circuit. It's 13.626 kilometers and 8.467 miles in length. We'll be doing a 20-minute qualifying session and then a 2-hour race after that. Top speed around here is 305 kph and 189 miles an hour, and you're at full throttle around this circuit for 85% of the lap. As you can see, there's a couple of clips from when we were here in 2022, the mighty Porsche curves there in the third sector. When we go into the night, of course, it'll get much more treacherous at that point as well. So we're in to the start of qualifying here at the 2 hours of Le Mans, and as you're watching, one of the Sauber Mercedes making their way down towards the heavy braking zone at the end of the Mulsanne Straight, which of course is a ordinary road most of the points of the year, actually a road I've been on in the past, as we now make our way up towards Villeneuve. And the American in the Porsche is, in the Sauber is going slowly. We've got some drivers behind them as well, who have just prepping for their first lap in this 20-minute qualifying session. As we see here, Formula Jonah making his way down the back straight of the Mulsanne Straight and into the second chicane here, which was put in the 90s to slow the cars down, as we were hitting in excess of 200 miles an hour. But with these GT cars, we're not going to be seeing mad speeds. You take the slight right towards the end of the Mulsanne Straight and into the Virage de Mulsanne, which is the 180 degree hairpin turn at the end here. We're going to be braking around 200 meters or so. It's braking and turning all at the same time at the start of the braking zone, and then we turn into the very tight hairpin and then down towards the Indianapolis curves coming up later on in the lap. And of course, this is one of the Triple Crown circuits across the year. We've already had Monaco, we've had the IndyCar 500, and we have Le Mans today. Le Mans in real life starting tonight as well for the 24 hours, which I think is got underway now. And obviously we've got our own 2 hours, which is our second iteration since 2022, as we get down into this very tricky section of the track, Indianapolis, and into Amage, where he's just warming up the tyres, and you have some drivers already starting their first laps, and we've got a big queue of cars coming out of the final corner and on to the start-finish straight. As you see Botham here, who was a part of the last race in 2022 that was done in May 2022, so about 25 months ago we were here last time around. I was in the commentary box with Formula Jonah, and as you can see, he's racing this evening as we go through the Dunlop curbs and into this tricky section of Virage Rouge, which is going wide there for both of them. I'm not sure if he'll get penalised for track limits. They were talking about it before the start of the race. A lot of cars getting slipstreams off one another here. The Nissan leading them away. Apologies, I think there was one car ahead of them. It's the Porsche of Luggy, who is just coming around the first of the two chicanes down the Mulsanne Straight. Just pulling to the right and getting set for the second chicane, which is a left-right rather than a right-left for the first one. And just breaking it up, giving it some giving more opportunities for overtaking at this circuit as well. We have a long way to go, of course. And we're only at 5 minutes, and we've still got 14 minutes to go in qualifying. We've got this Nissan, the Porsche, and Mercedes Sauber in a trio here, with the pink Porsche really standing out compared to others with these liveries, and into the hairpin at the end of the Mulsanne straight. And we've got a car just ahead who's gone slightly off the road. It's Luggy. The lap record here is a 3 minute 17. I think that's race pace as well. So we're coming up to the very tricky left-hander of Indianapolis as Luggy goes wide to let the Nissan and the Porsche through as they go into the right and then the left of the Indianapolis curves. Slight bit of banking here before we get to Arage at the next corner, and then we get down to the Porsche curves and the point curve as well. And look at the Porsche getting right out of shape there as we get back with both of them. And then Stanley, who's leading this QOA in that bright pink Porsche, as you go left and right and just skating through the curves. And then this next corner really comes up at you thick and fast and off-sights you as well. You don't think it's going to be so treacherous, but all the Porsche curves here are very treacherous towards the end of the lap. And as I said, when we go into the night later on, it should be a very tricky challenge. And just into the final few corners of the lap, the course of Dunlop coming up now into that chicane, and then into the final chicane after going past the pit entry. What time is this going to be for Stanley? It's going to be a 3:20.2 for Stanley. We've still only got 12 of the 14 drivers that were supposed to be starting. The two Nissans, both of them in Scott. We've got the Rothman Porsches of Nati and Ducast, two Mazdas of Husky and Formula Jonah. There's another red Mazda team as well of Ish. We've got two Jags in Eaton and KGB. And a few others yet to turn up. And of course they're just going to be pounding out the laps here in this 20 minutes. They're going to get 4 or 5 laps under their belt before we get into the 2-hour race later on. Here is one of the Rothman Porsches coming through the right-hander and on to this mighty back straight. So making sure everything's alright on my end. I think I might be a little bit loud. I'm going to be back in a second, guys. Just bear with me. So I've just done a check of the audio. I do apologise if it isn't the best quality this evening. I think it might arguably be a little too loud, so just bear with me a second, and I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. Hopefully that makes it a bit better. I am going to get a new headset. The quality isn't great on this one, I will be honest, so apologies for that. We'll just have to make do with it for this evening. It is clear enough to hear me though, it's just not the best And Zukost is really fighting with the car of that Rothman's Porsche. Of course, a classic livery from the Williams in the Formula 1 category in the mid-1990s. That's where they won with Jacques Villeneuve, which is interesting as well, with it being the Canadian Grand Prix at his father's named track, Gilles Villeneuve Circuit, this weekend, qualifying a little bit later on. So we're just over halfway through qualifying here, and Zook has gone even faster. Botham is looking very good here in that Nissan car. We've still got 12 of the 14 that are supposed to be here, and as I said, hopefully we will have my co-commentator turn up a little later on as they exit the Dunlop section and into Rouge, where we saw a clip in the intro video. There was people coming together there before in 2022, and we might see some people come together a little later on as well. 3 tyre compounds here. As you can see, most of the drivers are going to be using that soft tyre, and they will probably be running fuel all the way through this qualifying and not having to refuel in part here. They want to just get as many laps under their belt as possible, as we're watching the Porsche Rothman coming down the Mulsanne straight and into the first hairpin. Oh, sorry, first chicane. Just staying to the right. It's a long old way down to the second chicane on the Mulsanne straight. Hitting the brakes and the car being jittery under braking, and actually cuts the corner there and takes out one of the bollards, and surely the lap time should be deleted from that. He's 2 seconds down on his previous attempt though, so I don't think it would have made a difference. We can rise up and over the crest. We're showing the Mercedes there in the past, who actually taken off in the 90s when the cars were quite unstable at such high speeds as you get down that back straight and through the Mulsanne hairpin, and now down towards the Indianapolis curbs once again, with around 8 minutes left on the clock. And it's just bear with me, sorry, give me a sec. Got 2 bits of audio going on here. Didn't mean for that to happen. There we go. Got that sorted. So, as you can see at the top of your screens as well, make sure you're subscribing to the LSR channel. This will be uploaded to my RTG TV channel later on as well. So if you're wondering why you can see 2 YouTube channels, that is the reason why, because it will be uploaded later on. But make sure you subscribe to the LSR channel. If you're watching a bit later on and you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to RTG TV. There's racing over the whole weekend in LSR, and there's midweek races in RTG as well, so make sure to join the Discord servers and join in for GT7 action in LSR and Formula 1 and Formula 1 action in RTG TV, or RTG should I say, for 3 days, and the 3 events they have in LSR as well, as we're watching Zukost getting more and more comfortable in qualifying around the 24-hour circuit here at Le Mans. It's the penultimate and then final corners. Got the Mazda just up ahead of him of Midnight, who moves to the right hand side. He was 3 seconds down. Is Botham just finishing a lap here? His best lap time was 3:20, so this is a cool down lap for him, as he's got the Porsche Stanley just ahead of him, that bright pink Porsche. You can't miss him as we exit the Porsche curves. So we've got 5 minutes or so to go in the session, and hopefully we'll get some decent final laps run here at Le Mans before that 2-hour race. I'm just trying to work out sort of how many laps we're going to be doing in that 2 hours. We're going to be looking at around, probably going to be looking around the sort of 40-50 lap mark, I think, something like that. Stanley, I think, on a flyer at the moment. So we're just watching Stanley here try and complete another lap. He may have one more lap to do before the end of the 20 minutes. I believe they'll let them finish the lap. They cross the line before the 20-minute mark, coming into that right-hander. The slight kink into the hairpin at the end of the Mossad straight and on towards Indianapolis, riding all over the curves, nice and generous there from the Porsche driver, and up and over the crest on the Indianapolis straight. We will see the sun setting in this direction, I believe. Yes, we will. Pretty much. You will start to see the sunset down the Indianapolis straight. That's where they'll find it most difficult, and we've seen the Porsche driver standing there going a bit wide, missing his braking zone at Anage, and we could see some more mistakes later on, like that one. We'll go to another driver as Bacon Haddock is on an outlap here, and I think our resident YouTuber Formula Jonah is on a flying lap at the moment, preparing himself for the second chicane on the Mossad straight. In that orange and green master, and making sure to get the braking done nicely there and just wrestling the car through the corner. Before we get down to the hairpin and start coming back onto ourselves, as we say that, Stanley goes even faster here and he's up into second place. And we haven't got all that long to go now in the session before we get into the 2-hour race. We're at the almost 18 and a half minutes in the session. As you see, Stanley's just jumped into the pits as Botham is on an outlap, and his pole position, his provisional pole position, has been taken away, and this is his attempt now of trying to get back on pole position for the start of the 2 hours of Le Mans here in LSR, into the first couple of corners up the Dunlop Hill. And we go through the very, very tricky chicane. And we go on down the road into the Est Rouge. As we come out of here and down into Virage Rouge, the right-hander onto the Mossad straight, and make sure to get the car right over the curb and get on the power as early as possible as we go up through the gears and up over the crest and up into the over 300 km/h range at a max of around 190 miles an hour. Once we hit the brakes here into the first chicane, he does have that Porsche ahead of him in 11th place at the moment, and that being Badger Punting. And Formula Jonah crosses the line. He's a bit faster than he was before, 3.5 seconds faster actually, more than a bit. So he's not giving the man enough credit there. Stanley's still in the pit, and he's on the medium tyre as well, interesting. He's refuelling as Botham now has to deal with the traffic of the Porsche ahead of him as they exit, and there's a car out on the outside of the track there who's spun out, and I wonder if he's going to slingshot himself past the Porsche, trying to get that provisional pole position back, and then obviously turn it into the pole position at the end of the 20-minute qualifying, which is coming up in just a few moments. And the Porsche really holding him up here, but he's also on a lap, so is in no way inclined to actually get out of the way here as we go down towards the Indianapolis corners. He's going to go for a lunge into Indianapolis, looks to the right hand side at the slight kink before the right left at Indianapolis, and he's passing, got a clear track ahead to try and gain back the time that he's lost behind the Porsche man as he runs out onto the gravel there and actually gets sucked out, and the Porsche gets back past again, and now he goes off onto the gravel himself, and these two jostling for positions before we even start the actual race here, and I don't think both of them is going to be up on his time. So as you can see, we're on the final lap now for everyone. And with both of them going to be able to get that pole position back, going through the Porsche curves, the right and then the left, and going to get the car back to the left-hand side. Well, not really, actually, it's not the first type of corner as I remembered it. Going past the pit entry into the penultimate chicane on the lap. And then into that final two corners, and oh, it's all gone horribly wrong for the man who I believe took pole 2 years ago, and both of them will be starting in fourth at best. So I've got people like Jonah who looks like they're on their final lap, coming up to the Porsche curves here, where we're going to have the right, left, and well, double left really, into a very sharp right again. Oh, the car did not agree with him under braking there. And he's still up on his time, just about. Might as well carry on. There's quite a bit left to go to gain back more of that time. Getting on the marbles there on the outside, and then I feel like he's lifted out of the throttle now, and that is the end of his qualifying. And I don't think we have anyone who is still on their final lap, and I believe that could be it, and it certainly is indeed. The results are as follows. We call him City because I just don't know how to say it. So City starts on pole, Luggy in second, Stanley will be starting third, Botham fourth, Natty fifth, sixth is Ducost, Vacant Haddock seventh, eighth is Alcoholic Husk, and down at the back, Formula Jonah in ninth, 10th is Midnight, 11th Badger, Pansy, and Eric will be starting 12th and last of the 12 but 14 that were supposed to be starting. I'm not sure who we're actually missing out of here. I think KGB is one of them, maybe Ethan the other. I don't think we've got either Jag cars for tonight's race. So got a few moments to wait before the start of the session. And you can see actually on the track map as well, we've got 3.5 miles an hour of wind. Looks like we're about to get ready to go. And just remember we've got Versity on pole. I think that's what we're going to say. Exity on pole, Luggy in second, Stanley in third, and Botham will be starting in fourth place. We're getting some people putting comments in, as you can see. Before we get ready for the start, I'll be right back again once we get ready with the start. But I think I might stay actually, because I think we're literally imminently about to go. There we go. Got 5 seconds before we get underway for this 2-hour race at Le Mans with these 12 drivers that are taking part. Of course, we're going to have pit stops to worry about, fuel to worry about as well, as we get ourselves ready to get underway. Get rid of all that and we get underway for the rolling start here at the Le Mans circuit. For the second time in LSR history, we get ready to start the 2 hours of Le Mans, and Frosty gets us away nicely. Luggy is in second, of course, Stanley third, and Botham is in fourth as we go down into turn 1 and up the hill into the Dunlop section in sector 1. Zukos and then Vacant Haddock, Alcohol, Husk, Formula Jonah, as Midnight, Banji and Eric here, who are fighting for position, who have actually swapped places on the exit at the top of the Dunlop Hill as they now ride on down through the winding S section of Chappelle and around Virage Rouge and on to the Martin Straight as we now well and truly on the Martin Straight, and Luggy going to the right hand side already to try and outbrake the Mercedes Sauber driver, and then he goes wide and Luggy goes the long way round and is still though having to deal with the Sauber alongside him, going down the second part of the Martin Straight into the second chicane, pulls back out from behind the aero of the Sauber, but he hasn't got enough speed at the top end to deal with the Sauber, going up and over the crest and onto the brakes, takes that inside again, but look at the braking power from the Mercedes there. He's outbraked the rival car here. Apologies, can't actually remember what car it is. I think it's the Porsche that Luggy's driving, I'm pretty sure it is. And we've got Natty just behind him in third, and then Stanley in that pink Porsche in fourth place. But if you look up ahead, oh, Luggy went into the back of Frosty there, and then we go wide and off the circuit in the background and down towards Indianapolis before we get to the point. And looking in the background here, Formula Jonah going pushing another car off the track there. Eric is there down in 11th and 12th after fighting at the start as we go down the Indianapolis straight before those other corners that are named after that great oval in North America. Oh, we've got Stanley round. The pink Porsche is on to the infield at the Indianapolis curve and is down in 8th place. And then we've got Midnight and Formula Jonah right behind him on his gearbox now as they exit the next sequence of corners at Amage and now down towards the Porsche curve as Midnight has got a good exit here, making sure every gear change is spot on, and it's now along and now past as we go into the Porsche curve. Journey, just a little way back here, as you see a fight between Alcoholic Husk and Vacant Haddock just ahead of him. Is now going through the Porsche curve section. Doing some position changes further ahead. And that's Matty and Boatman who have switched places as Frosty is getting further and further ahead up front. He's around 3 seconds in the lead now already, going into Garage Rouge. And the red, white and blue Nissan closely followed at the moment. So just so everyone knows, I believe I'm actually doing this on my own for the full 2 hours, so I probably will have a couple of times where I'm just a bit quiet for a few minutes, just give my voice a little bit of a break really. Obviously the stream will stay up, I'll still change between drivers, but it will just be almost take when we get the break and then silence side talk, sometimes there isn't any audio, it'll be a bit like that, so hopefully forgive me for that, but it's a bit much, 2 hours straight without even a minute or two break. Generally struggling with this second chicane down the back straight here. We're on lap 2 and just over 5 minutes into the race. It's 2 hours, it's going to be long and enduring, and it's really going to be a test of mental strength as well here, especially when we go into the night. I can imagine we're going to go into the night in about 20 or 30 minutes, something in that region. He thought right there, a lunge at Indianapolis, didn't he? At the moment, we've got a long way to go. Pit stops are going to be from the factory, of course, later on. So he's only half a second up the road. Rossi's just over 2 seconds ahead of Boatman, who will be trying to bring that gap down. As you can see there, personal best sector for Boatman there, but he has lost round to the first place man of Ross. He's actually almost going out of sight as we ride on board with the American here. Within one of those 2 Nissan cars, one of the reasons why it will be right-hand drive as well, of course. Boatman's got that faster back at the moment with 3 minutes and 20 seconds. We have got this big queue that we have started to break away as well, and around the top 8. So we're not all too far away from each other. But of course we do have a long, long way to go. Sorry guys, just trying to sort the audio out as best I can. I think that might be a bit better. I'm just going to mute myself again in a second, just do another little audio check, just in case. I'm just sort of doing it by ear, doing it on the fly at the moment, so hopefully I'll get it sorted for the rest of the session. Just bear with me a sec. Now, I need that to be a bit louder, I think, and then we're all good. That should work out a bit better now. Again, just going to check what I've just said. Right, we're looking all good now at this point. 2.6 seconds. Rossi's leading, and both of them trying to get the press on here and close down that gap, and just everyone just starting to form a bit of a gap between each other here. It's where the pit stop, when the pit stop's coming, that's when it will really will really get interesting. As we ride with the trail cam there. Alcoholic Husky. Rossi just looking comfortable out in front at the moment. Haven't been on this game for so long, and I'll be honest, the last time I did actually commentate on this game, it was back when we did this last time, so sorry if my commentating and directing is a little bit rough in this. But the top driver has really not made much of a mistake as of yet, and as you can see, personal best sector there for Verosty. You see this 4-car train now that have broken away and have just started to stick with each other. And he's up by just over 2 tenths, just under 3 tenths actually. That's closer in the middle part of the lap there. But just looking very comfortable out in front. Verosty obviously had a very, very good qualifying session, gone on pole, and his stage with clear track ahead of him ever since. Coming into the Indianapolis left-hander, into the technical part of the circuit now, and just getting into that rhythm now. We're a few minutes in to the session now, around getting close to a quarter of an hour into the session. We're on lap 4, and the rhythm just starting to come true now. And I think we'll probably get to about lap 25 to sort of 30 maybe at very most. I don't think we will get to that 30 mark, but it could be close. doesn't seem like we're getting many impeding penalties for track limits, and no one yet coming into the pits. So, bear with me. Personal best middle sector there, first sector, sorry, for Velocity, and as I said, really starting to get into the groove as both of them starting to become a much smaller speck in the distance in the Nissan. And all very much equally spaced out, but the two Rothman Porsches looking very, very handy as it stands. Into the right and left first chicane on the Mulsanne Straight, and all of this straight is a public road most of the year round, and they close it off especially for the 24 of Le Mans. Just waiting for one of these guys to make a big mistake, and I'm sure they're all thinking that one of them will make a mistake eventually, as both of them set a fastest overall second sector there. I think it's diced up into much smaller sectors in the GT7. And again, just starting to find his groove now. Starting to push. The car's going to be getting a little bit lighter on fuel. And again, just pressing the time there in the next smaller mini sector and closing in on the Sauber Mercedes. And coming into the Porsche curve section of the lap. The most technical part, the place where hand in hand becomes the most technical part, is the part where you can gain the most amount of time or subsequently lose it as well in the last part of the lap here. And still both in gaining time, and Nati becoming a more and more of a speck in the rear view mirror of the Nissan driver into the final two chicanes of the lap. And bouncing all over the second curb there, the car very unsettled into the apex of the final corner of the lap. But it is a personal best lap for him on lap 6. Or lap 5, it was a 3:19, and in equivalent, it was a very close to a 3:19.8 and a 3:19.2 for both of them. So he gained around or just over half a second on Velocity. So as we're now about to go on to lap 7, which I usually say lap 7 of, but we don't know. We're 20 minutes, we're 10% of the race. Sorry, that's not 10%, it's not right, we're 200 minutes. We're just over an eighth of the race done. So a long way to go, and Natty in the pit lane is there low on fuel and need to put some fuel back in the car again, so we're getting to that pit stop window now with all the drivers starting to run out of fuel, as Luggy as well into the pits, as well as Zukost as well, as they wait for Natty. What tyre is Natty going to go on to here? It's a long pit stop here, pit lane. Changing to the soft tyres. Just pumping the fuel in. They're going to be here for about 25 seconds or so, give or take. I think something like that, to get the fuel in that we need. Maybe a little bit longer than 25 seconds, closer to 30 for the pit stop. And there we go, pit out. And he pops out in 5th place, just waiting for the other guys behind to get their fuel on board after the change of tyres. That's the agonising wait. And the top two not pitted just yet, so they're going to be in danger of an undercut somewhat, because it's a long track around here. They've got fresh rubber on underneath them, but the cars will be heavy, of course, with the fuel load back up to 100 litres. And still both of them got Verosty in his sights, well and truly within his sights, down towards Indianapolis. Such a tricky corner to get right. The brakes are cold as well after being on full throttle for so long. The fastest sector overall then, a 10th up. And getting close within striking range of Velocity here. Are these two both going to pit this lap? Can they afford to do another lap? Have they got the fuel to do that? As they go quite wide into the Porsche curves and trying to open up the corner as best they can. Is Rossi going to pit? The pit lane entry is coming up now. And he certainly is. I think they both are. They both have to, I think, at this point, as they come into the pits. A tricky go of it, and there's only 3 litres of fuel left. There was 8 for both of them. He's been saving on the fuel more than Verosty, but he has been the car behind, and he's been pushing the air out of the way for both of them, hasn't he, Verosty? And would mean that both of them saves that little bit of fuel as Vacant Haddock now comes in. Husky Chopper is also not pitted yet, and Natty, the first car that had pit on the last lap, and now on his out lap. It's soft tyres for both of them, and now waiting for the fuel. I think you're going to see around 4 or 5 pit stops in this 2-hour race. Verosty can go. Vacant is waiting, and they were getting quite low on fuel, Vacant, actually. And he crosses the line to start lap 8, and these two still out in the lead. Headlights going on already. We should be getting to a point, Sue, where we are going to go to the darkness. So both are now within 1 second after the pit stops. The fresh tyres working well for him down the Mulsanne straight now and into that deadly hairpin where it can all go horribly wrong with cold brakes. Both of them going slightly wide there, running almost onto the marbles, and both of them certainly within striking distance now of Velocity. Don't have to worry really about cars behind them either. And there could be a battle on for the lead that's just starting to open up for us here. Maybe it wasn't the headlights I saw, maybe it's just a reflection off the paintwork, but surely we're going to be going to the night in the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. And I think we'll be doing around half an hour real time in the night time. The car absolutely on the limit with the helmet cam there. Really wrestling with it through the Porsche curves. He goes wide on the exit. Onto the brakes into the final two. And this car actually having a manual shift. I've noticed that he's wearing the old Formula 1 Vodafone McLaren overalls there with the old Lewis Hamilton helmet as well as both of them. Into the left right at the top of the Dunlop hill. And all that time he gained, he's made some mistakes at the end of the previous lap. He's got all that work to do again. Velocity just not seeming like he can be shaken at the moment. Just super comfortable in his position. Super comfortable leading. And now starting to go on down the road and out of sight, and now both of them have some thinking time about where it all went wrong really. We've got the two Nissan cars, the teammates, very close together here, going on to lap 9 themselves. And now, looks like they're about to switch places, are they? Up into turn 1? No, they're not. They're staying in their current positions. I wonder if these guys will be fighting here, as Alcoholic Husky looking very quick on this second stint. The 55 Mazda through the left right at the top and then downhill into Virage Rouge. He's going to be in the slipstream of Formula Jonah here. Both Mazda's actually running car 55 for some reason. I don't think the slipstream will take much of an effect down here. Trying to close up under braking as much as he can. And Stanley not too far ahead in the distance either. And again, both of them in the middle part of the lap, just starting to claw back some of the time after the mistakes he made at the end and start of lap 9 and the end of lap 8. On board with Velocity, look at that, you can just see him in his mirrors. He knows he's there, he's not too far back, just over 1.5 seconds behind Velocity, but just looking very comfortable, especially in this middle part in the Porsche curves. And into the final 2 chicanes. back at it again. Onto the 10th lap now. It just seems that Velocity's got the edge over Botham in that final sector. Car looks like it's on rails in the final sector. We'll go back to the two Mazdas and see how they're getting on. Husky has got past, well, Husky's got past Formula Jonah, but then he goes wide at Damage. So we'll have lost a little bit of time, and these guys over a minute behind the leaders now already, as we're getting up to just over the half an hour mark in this 2-hour race. So a quarter of the race now finished. And when we've gone off them for a second, it looks like he's made a mistake and lost a huge amount of time to Velocity, who's now much further down the road than he was only a minute ago, and has made a mistake coming on to the Mossarn straight. And it's not looking like it's much of a top two fight at the moment, but still a long way to go. As Formula Jonah pits, and is this for the first time for Jonah? I think this has got to be the second, doesn't it? Already. What tyres are going on? A set of mediums. While we patiently wait, or as he patiently waits for the car to get a full tank of fuel. He's actually down at 12 of 12 now. So I'd love to know what mistake Botham made at the start of that lap as Formula Jonah now comes out of the pits onto a fresh set of tyres with a full tank of fuel. And actually, Nessie it seems like they've caught up a little bit here. He's just doing sort of the 3:20 mark now. Is Luggy also coming into view as well? Pit stops coming up shortly, I would think, for Velocity and both. Well, all of these guys really. They're going to start running low on the fuel again. Velocity stays out for another lap. So does Botham. Massey pitted earlier than the other two last time around. Is that going to be the same case again? I thought he was coming into the pits that time. But doesn't. Stays out. Goes through the final few corners of the lap to start lap 11. Personal best lap for him. Botham again. Just clawing some of that time back. Whenever he gets within around the 1.2 second mark, he seems to make a mistake. Let's see if he can iron those mistakes out. So both of them again within that 1.5 second mark. Let's see if he can stay there this time and not make any mistakes. I do feel like these two are going to go on for a little while longer. Hopefully they'll stay together for the whole race, but unlikely that. We've got a long way to go. So both of them again deciding not to pit, both of them really struggling with that final chicane and always takes a bit too much of the curb there, and that's what loses him that time, I think, because he's lost it again. And I do think slowly but surely Natty might be coming back somewhat. And remember, Jonah's done 2 pit stops today so far. This is one of the only to have done a pit stop twice. And he's doing personal best sectors at the moment. But I think those final 2 chicanes are not both in trend. He seems to lose a huge amount of time in those last 2 corners. He's in no man's land at the moment. Got 5 or so seconds. He's 5 or so seconds ahead of Luggy and almost 10 seconds behind Botham, who again throughout the lap is gaining back the time, but he always seems to lose it in the final few corners. So just needs to get that bit of his racecraft, his track knowledge underneath him, really, because it's what's costing him all the time at the moment. So again, the story remains the same. When we go into that final sector, Botham really seems to struggle as we've got 3 drivers in the pit lane now, getting refueled, fresh pair of boots on, and we'll go again. I'm wondering if we're actually going to go to the night times, because I feel like the time of day hasn't changed at all. Just actually trying to have a little pan around view of where the sun is in the sky, but we haven't actually seemed to have got any difference in daylight actually. So maybe we're staying in the light for the whole time. Maybe we'll see. And Zukos comes out of the pit lane as well now. We've still got our 12 that started. We're on lap 13. We're just over the 40-minute mark now and getting on to 45 minutes of this 2-hour race. As Stanley comes in, getting off the hard tyres themselves. And we'll see if Botham can sort it out in the final sector this time. And into the right and then the left of Indianapolis, where Botham seems to be the stronger of the two. Tyres surely starting to fall off now for both of these cars. And the grip levels will start to become an issue as they go along to the Porsche curves. In the really quick sector of that Porsche section. We're going to see a pit stop from either of these guys this lap around. If not this lap, it's going to be in the next 2. I think that's pretty much guaranteed. I'll be interested to see if one decides to do the opposite to the other. Very consistent with their times though, so we're always around that 1:20, 1:19 mark, but again, look at that. Velocity just so much quicker in the final sector, which really puts the ball in his court for the start of the lap and then loses the time, and then when we get into the final few corners he gains it all back again. As we come off the permanent racetrack, on to the French highway, down the Moisson Straight. These guys actually starting to catch up on back markers now, believe it or not. Well, I do have a feeling that some of them will pit again, so I think that will change around, but the top 2 in a class of their own at the moment. But I think again, Bacon had it, might have, I don't think he has pit, but Natty is pit now. Just always trying to get those undercuts. If we go by when Natty pit last time, these two should be in the next lap or 2. As you can actually see from Brosti's car, his fuel's on 10 now, which would mean he's had 2 laps maybe at most before having to come back into the pits again. Verosty is just so good in the Porsche curves. Just so confident, so quick through the fast corners. Verosty pits, both are going to do the same? No, he decides this time he's going to do the overcut and do something a little bit different to what Verosty is doing. Has he got the fuel to do one more lap? Last time he did have more fuel than Verosty, and I think that was because he was the second place car and being able to just stay in the slipstream and save a bit of fuel, as here comes the Sauber Mercedes for their second pit stop. Just waiting for the fuel to go in so they can have it comes in, and Nutty is the net third place. The undercut, I think, has worked reasonably well, but still quite a way back. I wonder if the overcut for both of them is going to be the option here. This is going to be a quali style lap for him. It's not a personal best for himself, but it is a very good time nonetheless in that first sector. And coming down to that second chicane in the middle of the straight, and got a couple of lap cars up ahead of him here who are fighting for position as well. I wonder if he'll catch up to these guys before the end of the lap. He might just miss them, actually. There are blue flags flying though, however, and they will be obliged to get out of the way as they're faster moving, both of them. But I don't think he's close enough yet to be in a position to want them to move out of the way. This is where he might catch them up though, in the Indianapolis curves. And then into the Porsche curves, and I think the sun is now actually starting to set at this point. Maybe I was wrong, maybe we are going to go into the night. We should do, because we're going to have a classic Le Mans race done in only 2 hours. We should be right at the point of when the sun would be coming down, to be fair. I think I was a little bit optimistic about when the sun would be coming down, as both are now just starting to catch up to the last place man of Eric, who's been shown the blue flags, and this could cost him in terms of the pit stop strategy against the race leader. Is Eric going to get out of the way here? He needs to get out of the way, but he is coming into the pits. He will not be pleased with Eric's interpretation of the rules there, as Verosty is still quite a long way back here. So we'll see how Botham gets on here. And here he comes into his pit box. Should have one more pit stop, I think, at least. Probably more than likely there'll be 2 more pit stops before the end of the race for him. So this is a chance to get an overcut on Verosty, who is getting close here. It's going to be close between the two of them. He's coming through the first and now second chicane in the final sector. And now the final corner onto the start finish. Here comes both of them out of the garage. And unfortunately, or has he? No, he might. Oh, it's close. It's very close between the two of them there. Verosty stays in the lead though. But there's a second between them. And we know that both of them in the first part of the lap is better. So it does look like the sun is starting to set. It certainly is. We're going to the darkness, and that might change things as well. The track is going to be a bit more harem-scarum for the drivers, I think. Both teams got to make this out, that count. The fresher tyres on the car. But I think he gained more of an advantage actually doing the overcut, so he might want to do that again at the next round of pit stops in about 15 or 20 minutes. The gap just starting to close in here, tucked in behind in the slipstream, will be giving you a bit of a straight line speed advantage. Look at this, this is closer than it has ever been so far today, just coming up on the hour mark. And the halfway point, and Verosty goes wide there. That will cost him as they come out of the corner, still stuck in the slipstream. It should have got much better traction as the sun's starting to set over the Indianapolis Straight. Oh, look at how close he got there over the curb. And he actually bumped into the back of the Sauber Mercedes. And then he goes wide into Indianapolis and gives both them the opportunity, and he decides to stay back. Didn't think to look to an opening. Decided again just to bump draft the back of that Mercedes. I don't think you've seen it better visually there. The difference between the two of them into this last chicane is where he makes up most of the time. It's where both of them struggled all race long hitting that curb. He just seems to be absolutely attracted to it. As we come out though, he hasn't lost as much time as he usually does. It's 1.5 seconds between the two of them going on to lap 17. As I said, we're going to get between 25 and 30 laps here as the sun is definitely starting to set over the northern part of France. Into the sweeping curves of the permanent circuit, the Bugatti circuit. Into the very, very fast right-hander of Virage Rouge, and then onto the Marseille Straight. It's definitely more and more turning into a two-horse race. We have got a fight for the final podium place though at the moment. And then behind that we've got Vaken, Haddock and Zukost in the midfield fighting for position, and oh, Stanley off the road there. And where is that? On the exit of the Indianapolis left-hander. Formula Jonah inside the top 10 at the moment. They're actually quite slow through the hairpin at the end of the straight, and they've got faster front-running cars catching up to them as well as they go into the Marseille hairpin. Oh, Frosty lost the car slightly there on the exit. That was the first mistake, proper mistake we've seen from the American all evening. And I think we'll be going to the night time in the next 10 minutes or so, as we're getting close to that hour mark now. You can see the time in the bottom left of your screen. And just remember, guys, as we get to this halfway point, you're watching the live stream of LSR, and if you're watching later on, you're watching the upload on RTG TV. Make sure you subscribe to both channels and put a like on the video for the 2 hours of Le Mans, which might become an annual thing for LSR in the future. It's definitely been a two-yearly thing. We've got this fight for the lead that hasn't really altered at all since the start. They've been very close together. The most amount of time on track that they've been apart from each other is around the 3-second mark, apart from pit stops and things like that. And both of them again just struggling with the car through the final part of the lap. But make sure you hit the subscribe button. Almost 200 subscribers for LSR, almost 400 subscribers for RTG TV, which was formerly known as LGE, which was where the first 2 hours of Le Mans was aired on YouTube. So that's the other reason why it's going on to RTG as well. So they have both of the races on the channel, and they might make a little playlist just for the two of them together. Into the Dunlop section in Sector 1 on the permanent Bugatti circuit here at Le Mans. Running on board with both of them in second place in the red, white and blue Mazda. Nissan. So the headlights now starting to come on as the sun starts to set over the trees over the circuit of Le Mans. And as I said, within 10 minutes, more likely 5 minutes now, we're going to be in almost complete darkness in the next couple of laps, around the lap 20 mark. Blue flags flying as the back marker needs to get out of the way here. And Rossi has got past midnight though, needs to let the next car through, as we've lost the car in the race. We're down to 11, still got this fight for the lead though. However, and just in the background there you can see Luggy, who's not too far behind. These two come together, these two make a mistake, it's all up for grabs for Luggy and maybe Natty as well, who are not too far behind and have been quietly catching up to the top two. So look at this now, under 0.3 of a second between that top two, but we're going into the Porsche curve section where we know Verosty has been stronger in the first hour, and I wonder if Botham is starting to get a grip of the final part of the circuit. How close he is he going to go for a move this time around? He looks to the right, which gets blocked off, he bumps drafts the back of the Merc. And they both look like they make a very similar mistake there, and it probably would have been because Verosty was the one that made the mistake firstly, and Botham was just in that position where he was close and kind of copied what the driver in front did. We're on lap 19 now, and just over the 1 hour mark, 1 hour and 2 minutes and 20 seconds as we go onto the downhill towards the end of the race as they catch up towards back markers as third and fourth place both come into the pits for their probably penultimate pit stop of the race. Actually, sorry, probably not. We've still got another 2 after this one, and it really is starting to get dark here at Le Mans, and they've got the black marker behind you. He's going to get out of the way, and both are now thinking about an opportunity to get past. Does he know? Again, just sitting back. Oh, he outbrakes himself. He gets... Oh, that was a big mistake from him there. Maybe that's the reason why he shouldn't sit back for so long and just take the opportunities when they come to him. But he was off-sighted, I think, by the back marker. Was the back marker forming a journal there, I think, maybe? So we've got this battle now starting to form, have we? Oh no, that's just the back marker of Eric again. With the two leaders, and the two leaders actually almost going to lap the majority of the grid, which would be mightily impressive. We've got a fuel gauge in the Nissan. I don't think so, as we go into the Monsanto hairpin. And that mistake cost both them dearly. As the sun just peeking through the trees down towards Indianapolis. Sparks flying from underneath this Sauber Mercedes. These two, though, have been very equally matched. It's going to start getting difficult now as we go on the downhill phase of the race. Concentration will become a big factor in this one. And these two as well have got to pit soon. Oh, velocity so close to the wall on the outside there. It's a bit of debris on the circuit actually through the Porsche curves. Both of them going wide again. No one seeming to get any time penalties for going wide here this evening. They both go past the pit lane. Probably slightly early for another pit stop. And I think we've got one more lap where we're going to have some form of sunlight, but when we get to the start-finish straight on the next lap, we're going to be in pretty much complete darkness as we go up the hill towards Dunlop and into the Dunlop chicane of turns 2 and 3. Just under 8.5 miles. It's a 24-hour circuit at Le Mans. And I think we'll have darkness for around 20 to 30 minutes before the sun starts coming up again, whilst when we get towards the end of the race. Both of them drop back more and more. Almost 3.5 seconds. This is probably around the biggest gap we've had all afternoon. But this really is where we're going to start to see the skill set come in at this point when we get to the darkness, and some drivers will prefer it to others. It'll be interesting to see if these guys are as evenly matched when we go to full darkness and they can only rely on their headlights. And We surely haven't got too many laps to go. You see the fuel saying 23 litres of fuel left in the Mercedes. 22 now, as you can see, using about 4 or 5 litres of fuel a lap, I think. Maybe a bit more than that. I think we've got 2 more laps or so. Is Verosty is flashing his headlights already. That might be a little trick we're going to see later on with drivers like Botham trying to pull off Verosty ahead. Verosty again catching up to some back markers here as Midnight going off the track and going slowly for some reason, and actually into the wall himself. As the car's tyres squeal through the Porsche curves and up to the final parts of the lap. Pit stops will be happening soon. As Verosty comes in, Botham again stays out and is trying the overcut. He does take the final corners much nicer than he did previously. Oh, sorry, it wasn't Verosty that came in, it was someone else, and Verosty's still at 3.5 seconds down the road. That was Badger who had come into the pits. And like I said, pretty much in full darkness now. And these are the type of conditions in long endurance races where we'll see the men from the boys. Got a bit of a relaxing stage here down the Mossarn Straight before the first chicane. Won't be long till we see them make their nighttime pit stop. We're just before 1 hour and 10 minutes of this 2-hour race at Le Mans. Make sure you subscribe to the LSR and RTG channel, the upload later on for RTG. We're live streaming on Lightning Speed Racing. And if you want to join the Discord, the link I believe is in the YouTube channel. It is for RTG as well. RTG weekday races, weekend races on F1 24 and Gran Turismo 7 for LSR over a Saturday and a Sunday. Primarily a North American league, but it's also accommodating for European drivers as well, with the times of the day in the evening for Europe and in the mid-afternoon for America as well over the weekend. So make sure you join in with those races. We are well and truly into the night phase of this race now. It is absolutely pitch black. Around 4 seconds separate the top two, as we see Botham flashing his headlights in the Nissan. And which one of these two is going to blink first? Botham decided the overcut last time around. Is that going to be the same here? Just trying to see if anyone else is relatively close to each other on the circuit. Doesn't look like it really. And Verosty into the pits again first, as Botham tries that overcut again. It worked for him last time. He almost took the lead of the race, but he is now, when Verosty actually entered the pit lane, he was 4 seconds down, so it's going to have to be a mighty undercut from Botham on this in lap. He potentially is going to come in this lap, he might come in the next lap. It depends how much fuel he's still got on board. That really determines when your pit stop is going to be, really. I think we're still slightly too early for this to be the final stop. I think we'll have one more after this. And look, he's not too far behind. He has been making ground as Natty gets past the other Rothman Porsche. The two teammates there as Ducasse gets out of the way. Ducasse must not have been. Must have been a different car. It looked like a Rothman. It must not have been. It's racing havoc in the other Sauber Mercedes. Getting some more fuel in the car and a new set of tyres, should I say, rather than a pair. As Botham's coming down to the Mulsanne straight and the Mulsanne hairpin. I'll tell you what, when we're at night time, it almost looks like the cars are slower at these times of the day. Track temperature coming down as well, of course, now. And Luggy's still got that fastest lap, the 3-minute 18.638 for him. Braking heavily for the Indianapolis left-hander. And then into Darrage. And shortly he'll be pitting this lap for what will probably be his penultimate pit stop of the race. Hello, Looney Man. How you doing, bud? Botham should be pitting at the end of this lap. It's coming up right about now. No, he's not. He's going for another lap. He's really trying to perform the overcuts here. We've got some blue flags flying there. Must be a slower car just up ahead. So like I was saying, Looney Man, it will be on RTG later on as well, as the first race a couple of years ago was on what was called LGE at the time. So it will be uploaded later, so you can have a proper watch of it later if you like. So another lap for Botham. He's on lap 23, as there's a back marker ahead who's going all over the place here. And where did he go? No idea. But it's Midnight that's having the issues there. Rosty's just coming up into turns 2, 3 and 4 at the top of the hill at Dunlop. And I wonder if Botham will be able to get the gap down with these overcuts. And that was a clear track ahead of him. Coming into the second chicane. 1 hour and 17 minutes. I think we'll have the darkness before the sunrise for about another 15 minutes or so. Here comes Botham now into the pits for their more than likely probably penultimate pit stop now. And is the overcut going to work here? I think it'll still be close between them. I think Botham will have a good advantage when he comes out of the pits with the offset tyres, having more grip underneath his Nissan. Into the pits, as I said, penultimate stop for him. You see some damage on the front end of the Nissan. That's from where he's been actually hitting the rear of the Sauber Mercedes. As here comes Velocity. And I'm not sure if this has been the best call actually, because he might lose a place to Luggy as well. He has. He's got Luggy just ahead of him on the road. So he's been able to get up to second place, and Natty's just about to start lap 24. And I think we might actually go over 30 laps here. Could be closer to 33, 34 laps by the end. And Rossi's now 6 seconds in the lead, and Botham's in a position where he's having to actually get his second place back. But we'll see if the offset, I wonder if he can go to the end. I think it's a bit too much to ask for that. I wonder when we'll start to see the sun rise. It shouldn't be too long before that happens. The gap's pretty stable at the moment, and Botham actually made a bit of a mistake there at the Martin hairpin. Went slightly wide and lost some more time there to Luggy, who is sat in second place at the moment. And has got that fastest lap. He got that on lap 16. Now I wonder if Luggy's starting to get into contention here. Because we've still got a long way to go. Over a quarter of the race still remains. And Luggy might have called the strategy pretty well here. Got a slow moving car ahead of him as we go into the final parts of the lap. Luggy goes past here and looks like he cut the corner somewhat there at this chicane. And on to the start finish, starting lap 25. Oh, sorry. You can see there, car's just spun out when both of them was going past. I think that might have been midnight again, it was. He definitely seemed like he has switched into beast mode, hasn't he? If we've got a comment on the live chat. He's just over 7 seconds in the lead now, and both have not been able to make much of a dent in Luggy's advantage here in second place. As we're at 1 hour and 25 minutes, we've got 35 minutes to go of the race. Rusty still out in front. Luggy just under 8 seconds behind, and both of them trying to close the gap down. It's around 3 seconds at the moment. And he should be hoping his tyre advantage, the tyre offset that he has compared to the other two, will start working in his favour now. And the two in front of him will have to pit earlier than him as well. But I wonder how many more pit stops we've got. I think 2 at most, and I wonder if anyone's going to try and scrape one more. Both of them might try and do that, but we'll see. We've got just under half a tank of fuel left on Velocity's car. He's probably only got 4 or 5 laps until he has to come into the pits. By that time we're going to be in about 1 hour and 35 minutes, give or take. That might be his last stop. Might be. Interesting to see how they've called it with the strategy. As Luggy is now picked, he's down on fuel. I think it's too far away to go to the end. So Botham is 12 seconds behind Verocity. I think the strategy hasn't worked out for him, but he might be going for that one more stop, hoping that Verocity might have to do 2, where he can maybe go longer and do one more. And the sun should be starting to rise now at this point. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Luggy and Botham as well. And that's going to be interesting. But Verocity's been absolutely brilliant up to this point. Just so you know, there is a back marker between them. Still around that 12-second mark between the two of them. When is Rossi going to pit? He hasn't got long until he has to. If he goes on to lap 27, we will surely get to lap 30, as we're getting very close to 3/4 of the way through this race with half an hour to go. I think we'll probably get to about lap 36, lap 37 at the end of the 2-hour mark. I do think it could be mighty close between Luggy and Botham at the end of the race. It'll be interesting to know how much fuel Botham's got left. We can't see that, but I think he might be able to stretch this to one more stop. And I'd have a feeling that Verocity might not be able to do that, and if he does, he's going to have to do a bit of lifting and coasting to get to the end. So just over that 1.5 hour mark now, and now into the last quarter of the race. Just waiting to see when Velocity and Botham will both come into the pit lane. And it shouldn't be that long before definitely Velocity comes in, including this lap, probably the next 3 laps. But he's looked so confident today. Not really put much of a foot wrong at all. But this is the tricky bit now. We're still in the ninth. We've been doing this for just over 90 minutes. I mean, around 110 minutes including the qualifying. So we're going to be starting to get tired. But still, look at that Velocity going faster and faster. Almost a second up on his PB. And coming up to the pit lane entry. Stays out for another lap. Just gaining time on Botham now. It's almost looking like this will be a 1-horse race. This is a 1:19.2 on lap 27. so consistent though. Look at that. 19.8, 19.6, 19.6, 19.8, 19.2. He's been absolutely brilliant in the last few laps. And again, going quicker in that first shorter sector. There's only 25 minutes left to go in the race, or just over that, should I say. And obviously when we get to the 2 hour mark, we'll have one, I believe one more lap. I don't think it'll be the final lap. I think it'll be one more lap, and there's a backmarker car almost getting into trouble. If you go down to the second chicane, and unfortunately both of them is 13 seconds behind now after sort of the first hour and 15 minutes. They've been so close together, no more than 3 seconds separated them, but now after the last round of pit stops, it's definitely started to really swing towards Velocity's favour for the last 25 minutes. Sorry, it was just, oh, I found it. Didn't realise that pressing triangle focuses in on the car. Quite a nice feature, that. As I say, keep an eye out for Luggy and Botham. I'm sure those two will be close once the pit stops start to come around. So, Grosty in for his final stop. He's been able to go a lot longer than I thought he could, and I think that will mean this will be his final stop. I'm just waiting for the fuel. I wonder if he'll need a whole tank of fuel. Where is Luggy here? Coming up through the end of the Porsche curves into the final couple of chicanes at the end of the lap. On to lap 29 now. I'm still in darkness. I'm sure the sun should start to come up soon. We've been in darkness for quite a bit of time now. So we are now down to 10 drivers in this race. We have lost 2 of them, unfortunately. We're at 1 hour 39 minutes and 10 seconds. Lap 29. I think we'll be getting around 34, 35 laps at the end. Both of them going to pit this lap. Is he going to wait a bit longer? Waiting a bit longer. Going through the final couple of chicanes. The first of the 2 is much quicker, and you've got a big sausage curb that you run over, and it really unsettles the car. No sign of daylight just yet. I wonder if we'll be actually finishing the race in the night. Both of them, though, surely has to pit one more time. It's whether he comes out in second or if he's going to have a bit of a challenge for 3rd place and that 2nd place spot on the podium. It will be close. It will actually be very close between Luggy and him. I wonder if Luggy has got fuel to the end. Trying to see any indication inside the cockpit. Doesn't seem like it. I definitely think we're going to see a fight for 2nd place in the last few minutes of the race. I think unless Velocity did something wrong, I think it's his to lose now at this point. He's led every single lap, pretty much up to now. I think both of them will probably come in this lap. There'll be around 17 minutes to go when he does come in. Into the section of the track where he has struggled all day long. Keep an eye out. Jonah down in 8th place here, being blue flagged at the moment. No one else really close to each other at all. Unfortunately, it is going to be this fight for 2nd, I think. Both of them in for his final stop now. And I wonder if he'll need the 400 litres to the end or not. I wonder if they have a choice whether to underfuel this a little bit and give himself a bit of an advantage that way. Rossi just passing the Porsche curves now, coming up to the pit lane entry. And is that rain? That is rain. There's rain over the circuit. I wonder if we're going to have to change to a set of wet tyres. Oh, Verosty stayed out here. It's a fresh set of softs for both of them. Will it be fuel all the way to the end? There comes Luggy. It's close between them. Is it intermediate tyres for both of them? Has he called a blinder here It's only 3 seconds to the leader. Has the strategy worked for him here, with the weather starting to play a factor in the final proceedings of the race? With around 15 minutes to go, Velocity is going to have to pit surely, and he is going to be certainly under threat now from the conditions. Decided not to pit again, and now Botham is going to take the lead of the race. Surely, with only 15 minutes to go, he flies past the race leader and takes the lead himself on the intermediate tyre as we go down the Monson Straight. This could have been snatched away from Velocity. Oh, as he goes deep, he goes over the gravelling, actually misses the corner completely. This has gone absolutely horribly wrong for him, and this was not a part of the script for him either. He's been been racing so well up to this point. He hasn't put a foot wrong, and then the weather's come into play, and it's made everything turn upside down, and Botham looks like he's in the running for a double win for the Le Mans 2 hours. He's even struggling under braking into the second chicane as the sun starts to rise over the circuit for the last 15 minutes of the race. And as soon as the rain's come, the rain is gone. And I wonder if this man in the Nissan is going to have to pit again to go back onto slicks. Both of them slippery out there though. Such a long track here though, that if you miss that pit lane, there's a whole load of pain coming your way if it was the wrong decision. 8.5 miles of pain. But he's almost in a position, I think, where he could pit again. Velocity is spun around just before Indianapolis, on the Indianapolis straight, and I think he's going to lose second place, as you know, because he's going slowly as well. Oh no, Velocity can't keep the car in a straight line, and Botham on that intermediate called that beautifully, even though the weather has now decided to change again, but it's cloudy over the circuit and the track should take a while to dry up, and we may not even dry up before we see the checker flag in around 12.5 minutes time, as we've got a yellow flag. Not sure who the yellow flag was for there. Vacant had it maybe, and some drivers now going on to that intermediate, which is what they're going to have to do. Botham stays out for another lap, as Velocity and Luggy now made a mistake as well. Everything's starting to, as I said, be really turned up on its head now. Everything's changing. Velocity under threat for that second place is Matty on intermediate tyres as well. Or are they just dealing with the conditions better in the Rothman Porsche? Velocity now coming up towards the pit lane entry, and this lap of pain is just going to an end, and he goes straight on aquaplane, straight on into the wall there. I'm pretty sure Natty is on the intermediate tyre, and it's just working well for him as well. He might take second place in a minute. He probably will, which we're just waiting for Velocity to come into the pits. Just can't get the horsepower down. Velocity stays out, hoping the track will dry up and it will come back to him. And here comes Natty on the intermediate tyre. Velocity might even not be on the podium when we finish the race. And Natty now goes up into second place. Velocity's doing a pirouette on the start-finish straight. I have no idea why they didn't come into the pits. Facing the wrong way. And Luggy is not going to be too far behind him with only a few laps to go. As Mark says in the comments, heartbreak for Velocity, as Luggy comes in for a set of intermediates as well. As the sun rises over the circuit in Le Mans, the track will start to dry up now, but is the intermediate still the better tyre of choice, as we've got just under 10 minutes to go in this race at Le Mans. The track actually looking like it's almost dried up now, and Velocity is finding the grip he needs. But is it too little too late? But on the other hand, is both going to have to pit for dry tyres again? No, it's still too damp, and Velocity's off and into the wall. He couldn't do anything about that. The brakes just weren't working. He had no grip underneath him, and he was just a passenger at that point. I believe Luggy is on intermediate tyres now. But I think he's way too far back, and unless Velocity comes into the pits, and everyone's struggling at the first. Oh, it's a like for like for Luggy as well. He's off the circuit, and look at this, both them 1.5 seconds in the lead as he's on lap 33. With 8 minutes to go. And the track is starting to dry up as the sun is now high in the sky. And I think we'll probably have about 2 more laps after this one. Would be my guess. So just one more time today, guys. Thanks very much for everyone who's been watching along in and out or throughout the stream. Much appreciated. Hopefully you've enjoyed this 2-hour Le Mans event. Keep subscribing to the LSR channel and the RTG channel if you're watching this later on the upload. And make sure you join the Discord server for both races on the weekends for LSR Saturdays and Sundays. F1 24 and GC7 races for them, and RTG just F1, PlayStation only for RTG Mondays, Wednesdays and Thursdays. So I wonder if Velocity now is going to start coming back, the track drying up. There's not much or any spray coming off the back of the cars now. Luggy also seemingly struggling as well. Oh, a Rothmans Porsche is off and facing in the wrong direction with only 5 minutes to go in this race, or 6 minutes should I say, in the race. It might be an all-American podium when we finish in only 5 or 6 minutes time. So it'll be 3 manufacturers potentially as well who will finish on the podium: Nissan, Porsche and Mercedes. Both of them 1.5 minutes ahead of the next car after we've seen Velocity for the majority of the race leading. But are the intermediates going to have to come off at the end? Are they going to be more trouble than it's worth? 5 minutes to go in the session, 4 minutes and 45 seconds to be precise, before we get on to the final lap. So we'll have, I think, this lap, next lap, and maybe 3 more laps to go, including this one we're about to go on to, lap 34. I think we'll finish on lap 36, which is a long way we've done today. And if it is 36 laps, I'll tell you how long it is. We're looking at 300 miles these guys have done in the last 2 hours. Both are now over 1.5 minutes in the lead. And it's looking like a pretty comfortable podium, but they are all over different parts of the circuit. We've got both of them just started sector 2. We've got Nassi in sector 3 of lap 33, and Velocity only coming into the Mosson hairpin in the middle of sector 2 and going off onto the gravel as well. We have only 3 minutes to go in the race, and both of them is leading. And potentially we'll see the checkered flag. I think we'll find out. I'm not sure if it will be classed as the final lap. If it is classed as the final lap, we've got 1 more lap to go. We'll be finishing on lap 35, not 36. But obviously if we do 1 more lap after the 2-hour mark, it will be 36. But we're almost there. We're almost at the finish, and both of them has been very consistent, I will admit. He wasn't as quick in the early to middle phases of the race. So this man, Velocity, going through the Porsche curves, where he's been strong all afternoon. But remember, it'll be the last lap with the driver on the lead lap with 2 minutes to go. We've still got 10 of the 12 who started. Unfortunately, we were supposed to have 14, but that wasn't meant to be in the end. To the Porsche curves for both of them as he potentially starts his either penultimate or last lap. We'll find out in about 1.5 minutes. But to be fair to him, has drove an absolute stellar race. got the strategy call right. There was a bit of luck involved in it, but sometimes you need a bit of luck on your side to win races as well. And he's just starting to take a bit more of a cruise in the last few laps. The track will be a bit more green than it was as well after you had that small rain shower. But as the sun's come out and dried up the track, we will now find out whether this will be the last lap in the next 40 seconds or if this will be the penultimate lap. We should find out in 25 seconds or so when we go into the second sector now with the race leader. And no one, unfortunately, is close to each other on the racetrack and racing with one another. So into the last 10 seconds of that 2 hours. And we'll find out now if this is the last lap. It is indeed. This is the final lap. Vacant Haddock has already finished his 2 hours of Le Mans. We're going to have raced 35 laps, 292 miles of racing in the last 2 hours. But we're on the final lap of this 2 hour race. And as long as both of them can just cruise to the finish, this man will be winning in 2024. 2 hours of Le Mans. As we see Vacant and Alcoholic Husk finish as well. Formula Jonah finishes his 2 hour event as well, and Midnight as well. We're just waiting for a few others, as Badger will be the next car, would he? No, he won't. It will be Zukost who finishes next on his final lap and will finish in 7th, as Nova finishes in 2nd place. Luggy will be finishing in 3rd, and Verocity, who was leading for 3/4 of the race, will not even have a podium finish to end proceedings, unfortunately, as he makes his way up towards the final part of the lap. And then we'll go back to who will be our race winner. We're waiting for Luggy up next, actually, and then it will be Verocity. Luggy now coming around the final 2 corners of his 2 hours of Le Mans to take his 3rd place finish. He should be absolutely chuffed with that, to finish in 3rd place. Here comes Verocity. He's finishing in 4th. A big commiserations for him. And now it's half a lap of honour for Botham, who will be winning the 2 hours of Le Mans in 2024 for LSR through the Porsche curves for the 35th and final time today. And this was the area of the track where he really struggled in the early part of the race. But he was consistent throughout, coming up to the final 2 corners, or 2 chicanes should I say, of the lap, the final 4 corners, into the penultimate chicane. And now the final corner. Soak it up, lads, you've won the 2 hours of Le Mans for LSR, and it was an absolute brilliant showing for him, and that ends proceedings, and we've got a race time of 2 hours and 40 minutes, 2 hours and 2 minutes and 40 seconds for this man Botham, who wins the 2 hours of Le Mans for LSR. Well, that was an exciting race towards the end. It definitely spiced things up, having those weather changes and putting those intermediate tyres on at the right time for him. That was absolutely fantastic. Have we got a short replay? I don't think we do. So, that is the end of your 2 hours of Le Mans. Thanks very much for watching on LSR. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've been Joe. I've been your commentator for this evening. Until the next time at the 2 hours of Le Mans, thanks very much for watching.